Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another stock market outlook video brought to you by DFU as well as the Trade Lab. Today we've got a whole lot to talk about. The market indexes obviously have been pulling back pretty hard. We'll take a look at all of those. We'll also discuss leading themes, leading stocks as well. There's a lot to cover, but first things first, I do want to mention that if you want my thoughts on a daily basis, my focus list, what I'm watching the next day, this is the last weekend and last ever time that you can get a special offer, $200 off the Trade Lab. This is my daily report. We also do weekly analysis as well as educational articles discussing the top trading opportunities for that week, as well as a monthly deep dive into a past market leader or really in-depth view of a trading concept like sell rules, like selling into strength, selling into weakness. All of this is designed both to provide education as well as analyze the current markets and find the best current market leaders. So again, this is the last chance you have to get the special introductory price, save $200. And what you want to do is go to traderline.com/tradelab. The link to that is down below in the description as well. My singular goal is to make this the best value platform and service available. And we've got a lot of great commentary and thoughts and reviews from existing founders as well as members of the Trade Lab. So check that out down below. Highly, highly recommend it. And again, this weekend only is the last chance you'll ever get to get it at this price. So definitely go ahead and check that out. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right in and start with the market indexes. And this bar right here, I think is really significant. And whenever a bar like this happens in the future, this should be a time to really take note. And it doesn't just happen with indexes. If we go to NVDA, this type of bar right here often starts choppier or corrective periods. And there was one here, there was one here as well, which started this base. You can see it's not always, the final high, although this was a lower high. So that in this case, it was the final high. But often when a bar like this happens, it's suggesting significant distribution and leads at least to a pause, a correction, consolidation, whatever you want to call it. And recently with QQQ, if we bring that up, there we go. You can see this bar was put in obviously on the Fed news, and that led to this much choppier environment as opposed to this nice clean trending, which definitely had pullbacks and pushes higher, but not nearly as choppy, and a lot less fall through and a lot less stocks are participating right now during this period. So overall, since this bar, we've kind of been in a different market environment. We've set in these lower highs here and here. We're undercutting the 21 EMA as opposed to kind of respecting it as we saw back in this area. And now we're below the 10 EMA, the 21 EMA, as well as the 50 SMA. And now we're testing this high, this key high right here. Now, right now, sorry, I said right now a few times. But anyway, this week we had this significant push down, undercut of the 21 EMA. And for 2 straight days, we pulled back pretty hard into this potential support level. We did get a slight bounce here on this past Friday, but we faded it a little bit and didn't close quite as strongly as I would have liked. But we've undercut this level, and if you think psychologically, those are probably spots where people try to put on positions and were likely stopped out recently on this bar. And now we're potentially reclaiming those levels, and we'll have to see, and this will be really key, how do we act after this bar, after this push lower into the support level? Do we build here? Do we rebound up? That would be kind of the positive. Or another positive would be a significant flush below this level, really shaking everybody out, and then a positive bar, good close, potentially putting in day one of your rally where you get a nice flush out. Everybody's out, everybody's panicked, and now we've kind of reset things and are ready for a push higher. Either scenario, a build sideways or a big flush out would be kind of what the bulls want to see. And in terms of the bears, they just want to see a big, acceleration down, but with not a negative or not with a positive close, but a negative close near the lows, follow through lower. And that would just suggest we need a lot more time to build out this base. But as bad or as kind of corrective as this looks, a lot of leaders are more going sideways or even forming kind of the middle to the right side, up the right side of bases. And we'll take a look at a lot of names, Gev, Reddit, a ton of names, VST, CEG. We'll take a look at a lot of leaders that I'm watching personally and are kind of the top growth opportunities if the market pressure does come off and we start to see some sort of rally They've already kind of been correcting under the surface for a few weeks now and are potentially ready for a move higher. So we'll cover those in just a minute here. I do want to point out IWM, this looks worse. We're rejecting back down from a declining 21 EMA, and also bringing up SPY. This looks pretty similar to the QQQ, but almost a little bit worse here. We didn't have quite as big a bounce here, and this is a lot further below the moving averages. So the QQQ relatively is actually stronger than the SPY, but still has that negative corrective look to it, as you can see right here. Going through the mega caps, you can see that these look a little bit better. Meta held up really nicely today. We're above the 21 EMA. We're pretty close to all-time highs. Looks pretty strong. Tesla pulling back, tightening the last few days below the moving average. So we'll see if we can pop back through that, or do we follow through to the downside, test these key moving averages. Google, this is chopping, but holding above the 21 EMA. Microsoft, definitely weaker. You can see how much weaker this is than Tesla and Meta especially. Amazon, breaking below the 21 EMA. So again, a little bit weaker. We'll see if we can push higher and have kind of an undercut and reclaim of these lows. Apple, also a little bit more negative like Microsoft. And NVIDIA, we already took a look at with this big reversal bar on the CES news. And now we're below all the moving averages and, under this significant level, this key level that we set back in this area here. So we'll have to see what happens here. I love a quick reclaim or just a build and push higher. A lot of semiconductors actually look a lot better than NVIDIA at this point. We'll take a look at a bunch of them. TSM, SMTC, CRDO come to mind. AVGO also is a little bit relatively weak with NVIDIA, but is holding up reasonably well after that gap. And I know I'm just saying the ticker's name, but we'll take a look at the charts in just a second. In terms of breadth, you can see net new highs have flipped to negative the past few weeks here. If we bring back the QQQ, you can see when that started back in this area. Let's bring that back up. So you can see right before we had this big negative bar, we started to see negative breadth, and overall percentage of stocks above the 40 SMA on the NYSE has been declining as well. Going over to leadership groups and how stocks in general have been acting, you can see the daily performance charts here on the left, and then the 20-day performance charts here on the right. USO has been leading. Energy has been really a strong theme. SMH has been holding in there pretty well. Jets has been a strong theme for quite some time, but most of the other themes are consolidating and correcting, which is pretty normal during a correction. Here you can see the action here on Friday again. Oil was strong, and Jets was strong, gold was strong, IBIT was showing RS. So actually I do want to show IBIT here because it's holding up pretty well near the 50. And this is kind of key. It's forming a tight range where you've got this pivot to the upside and then this pivot, which lines up with these lows, as well as the 50-day to the downside. So we'll have to see which way this resolves. Does it resolve to the upside? Right now, you can see it's forming a structure here. It's showing relative strength versus the market, QQQ especially. But if we do fall through lower, that would suggest this needs a lot more time and kind of has a mini head and shoulders look to it. If you want to interpret price action that way. We'll see what actually happens. We're below that 21 EMA, which is kind of my key filter, but we have the potential to pop through that and retry this breakout right here. With that said, let's go over to the heat map here and go over to the DView leaders. This heat map can be fully customizable with any of the data points we have, as well as you can load any watch list or screen into this custom view. So you can see what's standing out today. CEG, nice gap up. They had news that they're acquiring another, I think, geothermal company. SN, nice pop through this tight area. You can see RMV went to zero yesterday, suggesting a nice tight area potentially has this type of power, this type of coiling action that can lead to this breakout. ITCI, big breakout. I think this is a biotech here. Not super interesting for my system. VST along with CEG pretty strong, and GEV also had a nice upside reversal retesting this pivot, but we'll take a look at those charts bigger in just a second. Group ranks, you can see the group ranks as well in DView. This is a preset for all DView users, so this is pretty handy. And let's go ahead and dive right into the potential leaders. So let's go ahead and move this out here. AMBA tight against the 21 EMA. I am watching this one. This bar does give me a little bit of pause. This is a semi name, and let me go ahead and switch back to my main data panel. I was messing around with the Stan Weinstein data panel. So here we go. Let's close these out. And you can see in semiconductors, what is leading in terms of RS is actually Atom. CRDO is also pretty strong. ALAB, of course, has been trending. We'll see if we can fall through to the upside off the 21 EMA. But Atom's been holding up, although it's breaking lower here. CRDO holding up really nicely. I'm watching for a push through this pivot. And you can see the other stocks and how they're performing. AVGO, I mentioned, it's holding that 21 EMA. It's right near this key level, the HVC. So next week, I'm watching to see if we can push higher, or do we get a significant undercut of this level, the 21 EMA, and fall through to the downside. That would suggest a much longer correction is needed here. But let's go ahead and bring up NVIDIA. Let's go through the key names here. NVIDIA, again, breaking lower. This bar is very negative, suggesting there's more time needed. But we'll see if we can hold and build and just form a choppy pattern in this area and eventually resolve to the upside. Semiconductors are going to have a hard time working really well if NVIDIA at least isn't, participating or just building out here. But if NVIDIA does rally, that would really add juice to the fire and set up the semiconductor names pretty well. And there's a lot of them that are kind of leading the cycle in terms of NVIDIA and acting really nicely. CRDO, ALAB, SMTC, all those names are acting pretty well. And you can see set up a lot nicer than NVIDIA is. Bringing up PLTR, this is another key leader. It's testing the 50-day for the first time here in quite some time. And it's a sharp drop to the 50-day to this key level. And you can see we also undercut this significant low. And this is kind of a key spot. Does this low hold? And this low is kind of key for a lot of stocks today. A lot of them put in kind of reversal lows like this at key levels. If we lose this low on those stocks, we likely need a longer correction. But if we rally up from this and put in a swing low, this is a low that you can trade against, manage risk against, analyze stocks against, and this could be a low for the base or the low for potentially a higher low that sets up in the future. So this is key. Do we rally back through this key level off the 50 SMA? This is a spot where institutions like to accumulate stock. Or do we undercut this low, chop around, undercut it, drift lower? That would suggest we need a lot more time with PLTR, which obviously has already come quite a long way in just a short period of time, but we've kind of been correcting since December 9th with this stock. So we'll just have to see what happens with this name. Bringing up Reddit. This is another name that it has been correcting since December 9th. You can see that this has kind of been leading the QQQ in terms of correcting, chopping around. And today we put in another upside reversal. Again, this low is key, and we'll see if we get fall through to the upside. A great sign next week is if we rally strongly Monday or Tuesday, take out the high of today, push higher off the 21 EMA. A lot of stocks are at that area. But if we don't see that bid and just kind of roll over and don't respect this low, that would say, again, we need a lot more time to resolve this correction. ALAB, another stock, putting in upside reversal near the 21 EMA. This, to me, I'd actually love to see it base around and chop around and put in a few more weeks of consolidation under this high. But again, putting in an upside reversal today, so we'll see if that low is respected. Let's see, AVGO, I do want to bring up. Again, this low is key, the 21 EMA, nice confluence there. We'll see if we can retake the HVC, the high volume close from this earnings gap up day, and we'll have to see how it acts. GEV, this name has been leading definitely over the past 5 days. Very nice action, big upside reversals, suggesting accumulation here, good close to the end of the week, and we'll see if we can fall through to the upside through these highs. This would be a buy point. I've got a position I'm looking to add through these levels if we do get it, and we'll just have to see what happens with GEV. But this theme in terms of VST as well, popping through today, CEG gapping up on that acquisition news, all good signs for that theme. So it's definitely a focus of mine to see how we act. Let's go ahead and see if there's any other key names I did want to talk about. RKLB, tight inside day against the 21 EMA, just below this base pivot. We'll see if we can pop through this daily high and start another move higher. We have come quite a long way, but also we're just breaking into all-time highs and putting in a nice base right at that spot. So stocks can go a lot higher than we ever think, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Do we resolve to the upside here, or do we break lower? And likely if we break lower here, we're going to retest these levels. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Tesla, I do want to mention watching for a push higher off these highs. We are tightening RMV going to 0 here. This would be kind of more the middle of the base than, near a breakout, but it could be the start of a series of higher highs and higher lows as we make our way towards this key high. CRDO, again, one of the semiconductors setting up a lot better than NVIDIA. Watching for a push through this key level where we have tried to push higher before, but haven't managed to stick. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. If we can push higher on volume, that would be a great sign. Dave, big upside reversal off the 50 SMA. This one has been a chop fest and hard to trade here. Coin, this is potentially, putting in a base formation here, and this would be kind of the start of it. And I'm watching this downward trend line, but for me, MSTR is kind of a more developed and obviously kind of a better swing trader if IBIT decides to hold and push higher. So MSTR would kind of be my focus, but coin I think is definitely worth keeping an eye on and keeping on your list to see if we can break this downward trend line. Let's see here others I want to mention. TSM, nice upside reversal, again acting a little bit better than NVIDIA, but you had that same kind of reversal action here, but now it's almost set up and kind of retesting this breakout. So if it can hold this base pivot, I think that would be a pretty good sign for semiconductors. DEC coiling a little bit against the 21 EMA. Bros acting really nicely. Good upside reversal, watching for fall through these highs. You can see the pivot I have marked here with my alert. And again, this low is a potential swing low, and we'll see if we can rally up through that level. VRT starting to move up the right-hand side of this base. Big upside reversal, watching for follow through. Let's see here. ALAB, we covered. AAOI, another semiconductor at the 50-day moving average. Actually, this is communications here. GME actually looks decent. Upside reversal again, watching for follow through. And Roblox acting really nicely, respecting this pivot and setting up a pivot right to the top side right here. RBRK, nice software name, recent IPO, had a really nice run, and now potentially setting up a base. This could be a little bit early, but still a name I think definitely worth having on your radar. We'll see if it can fall through and reclaim this HVC level here. Let's see, PLTR we talked about. SMTC I showed, watching for fall through, break from this inside day. GLBE, I like how it looks on the weekly chart. You can see we had the big base formation, push higher, start of a stage 2 uptrend here, and now potentially forming a base up in this area. On the daily, still below that 21 EMA, but nice push today, and we'll see if we can fall through and break through this downward trend line. Let's see if there's any others I want to mention. App at the 50-day, we'll see, it's been a little bit weak. This is potentially a lower high, so we'll see if it can rally hard, but it's come quite a ways already and starts looking a little bit more stage 3-ish, but we'll see if it can rally off the 50-day moving average. BE, watching to see if it can move with the other kind of alternative energy names. Let's see if there's any others I want to touch on. SN, nice breakout. RMV was 0. Nice fall through on this upside reversal. You had a gap down and then push higher. I've talked about this type of setup, this type of entry tactic many times in the Trade Lab. And again, there's the special offer this weekend only. If you're interested in this type of analysis that I'm doing today, I do it in a written format every single day, every single week, as well as a bunch of education on sell rules, entry tactics, entry setups, all of that. And again, you can check out the link down below in the description if you're interested in that. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover here today, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts on the market. Where do you think we're at? Obviously, the QQQ is looking more like the starting third of a potential correction, but a lot of stocks like Reddit or ALAB have been basing for quite some time, multiple weeks, and look more towards the latter third of their basing process. And leaders by definition will kind of lead the index in terms of the cycle. That's something I learned from Oliver Kell. So those are the type of stocks I'm focused on, the stocks that are in the middle to later third of their cycle and potentially starting a new uptrend or pretty close to breaking out, or stocks that have already broken out like GEV that are acting really strong relative to the market index. Obviously, I'm not just taking huge positions off the gate. I'm making sure that things are proving themselves for me and then adding exposure if we do get that fall through early next week. So again, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think about the market? What stocks are you watching? What are you focused on? Personally, I'm focused on the semis, alternative energy, as well as the software names. That's the ones that I'm kind of Focused on, of course, also crypto. That's a key theme as well. But again, let me know down below your thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.